Sarah, and today I'm making another zippered bedding. This one I'm making for my son. The one I did a few years ago has been pretty popular, but it's really long. So I'm gonna try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. He doesn't want to ruffle, so that's gonna also eliminate a step. This uses the sheets and blankets that you already have. So I've already got the fitted sheet on his mattress. This is my flat sheet. You could also totally leave this out if you want to. Lightweight quilt, and we're gonna turn that into his zippered bedding. So I want to show you what supplies we're going to need for this project. Of course, we're going to need a sheet set and a quilt. Then you're going to need some really good fabric scissors, something nice and sharp that can cut through a lot of layers. These are my favorite kind. They're spring-loaded. They are really great for cutting through a quilt. The next thing we'll need a really long zipper. This one is a zipper by the yard. This time I wanted to try something different because those long zippers can be difficult to find sometimes. And I bought two because the mattress is around 6 feet long. You also need some sewing pins. I have these ones with the yellow head. These are upholstery sewing pins, so they're a little longer and don't bend as easily. But this time I'm going to try safety pins as soon as I find my safety pins. You're also going to need some thread. I went with this blue thread that closely enough matches the bedding because your stitches will show. I also have fabric tape measure, pre-filled bobbin. Next thing I have are proper needles. So I'm going to try a size 14 universal needle to start. I also have a size 16. You want something heavier than like an 11 because we're sewing through a lot of layers and we're sewing through quilting. Next thing you need is a zipper foot. This is the one that fits my current machine. It's something that's going to allow you to sew close to that zipper. And last, chalk. So that's all of the materials that you need. The zippers were like $8 each, so 16, and then I think I spent $3.50 for the thread. So we're at under $20 for this project so far, which is pretty good when you consider the price that you would be spending if you bought one of these pre-made. The next thing I did was I took my quilt and I laid it right side down on top of the fitted sheet. I'm not working with the flat sheet yet. That's off to the side. We'll get to that in a minute. Right now, we just want to get the quilt centered on the mattress. I made a little chalk mark there to show where the middle point is. And then I took my chalk and it helped to feel the piping on the edge of the mattress. At one point, I did start to get off track, so I just got a wet paper towel and wiped off the chalk in that area. And then at the end, I put a little X to tell myself that's where I need to stop. We're going to sew later on the chalk line. We're going to cut a ½ inch closer to the edge side, not to the center of the quilt. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut just outside that line, and then we will move on to pinning. Okay, I've now cut both sides of my quilt, and I went ahead and pinned this side right here. I use safety pins. I'm about to pin this side, and then I will sew with a straight stitch on the white line down both sides. Here, before I go to sew this, I just want to give you kind of a close-up so you can see what it looks like. So you can see I cut, you can see the layers of batting. At the end, got my little X there so I know, don't keep cutting. I will probably like round it off as I come to the bottom there. Also, when you're at this point in the process where you've got these pieces cut but they haven't been sewn back together, just handle them gently because there is some flex there. Just needs a lot of extra care so that we don't stretch it out and have the sides not match when we sew them back together. I want to show you how I'm using this zipper by the yard because I'd never used one before. I just did the first zipper and I'm gonna go ahead and do the second one now that I figured it out. Dritz Home Creative DIY 3 1/4 yard upholstery zipper cut to size. It's got a bunch of zipper pulls on it. Both ends of the zipper have end piece like you're used to seeing on a zipper. So we only need one of those. I'm going to go ahead and put all of these excess zipper pulls towards the end that I'm going to cut off. The side of my mattress is 74.5 inches long. So I'm going to go a few inches longer than that. I'm going to start measuring here at the little metal piece. Okay, so then I'm also going to give it about an extra 2 inches beyond that, so I'm going to cut here. You need to make sure that one of the zipper pulls is on this end that you're going to keep. So grab the closest zipper pull. So now see, it's on the side where I actually need it. Now I can go ahead and cut. I think it was right about there. So now I have a 74.5-inch zipper, actually 76.5-inch because I gave it an extra 2 inches just for some wiggle room there. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin it to the side of my bedding project. I'm in the process of pinning this zipper onto the side seam. I've got it started down here where that seam I made previously began. And I'm using safety pins. So far, I'm actually really liking them. They're not as easy to push through the fabric as a sewing pin, but I like that I'm not getting stuck. So I'm gonna keep up with that for now. So you're gonna wanna make sure that where the teeth of the zipper come together lines up with the center of that seam that we sewed, and then pin it in place. I don't want to accidentally pin it to the sheet or the mattress underneath. Okay. So I'm going to do that the whole length of this side of the mattress, and I've already sewn the zipper to this side of the bedding. This is what it's going to look like, the underside of the blanket. I folded the top parts of my zipper over, just tacked it in place there. Flip it over. You can see what that's beginning to look like. One extra step I'm going to take, I'm going to trim the seam just enough, and then I'm going to sew again on the far edge of the zipper, and that should encase my raw edges within the zipper fabric. Can you hear the harmonica music upstairs? No extra charge for the concert. I'm gonna go ahead and sew the other zipper, and then we're gonna tackle the excess fabric in these corners. You can see I sewed along either side of the zipper, and then I sewed an extra seam on the outer side to hold in all my raw edges. Okay, so the next thing I need to do now is to use a seam ripper and open up that zipper. You kind of pull on it, you can see where the threads are connecting, and pop that open. Don't catch any of the fabric of the quilt. Okay, so now I can kind of give it a tug. Now I just need to take my seam ripper and go the whole way down this side seam. Okay, I got both the zippers installed, and I just, for now, the blanket is just laid on top of the fitted sheet, but just wanted to show the zippers are working. I tested them the whole way down and they zip smoothly. So now the next step is going to be to flip this upside down again, and we're going to tackle the excess fabric on the ends of the bed. This part's going to go here and get wrapped under. This part's going to go here and get wrapped under, and that leaves us with a flap. So I'm going to sew a straight line here. I'm going to mark it with chalk and pin it, and then I'm going to sew on the chalk line and cut it off. I have the corner all marked. I'm going to sew on that line, and then I'll come back and I'll cut off this excess. The corner's done on the end of the bed, and so now what I want to do is deal with this flat sheet. If you don't use one, just skip this step. So I have it all laid out on top of the fitted sheet. I'm going to sew it just along the bottom edge here. So I don't want any part hanging down. I'm gonna make sure that the edge of the sheet only comes to the edge of the mattress. That means I've got extra right here, which I'm going to kind of just pull over and fold like a pleat. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the far side. There's the edge of the top sheet on the other side and the fold. And then I'm going to sew across the bottom here. I'm trying to decide, do I want to just sew the sheets together, or do I want to go ahead and put the quilt on top and sew through all of it? Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. We're starting to get to the part of the project where it gets a little more tricky, but it also starts getting really exciting too, because you can really start to see this bed set come together. I got the seam along the bottom edge here sewn. Basically, sewing that bottom edge is the first step where everything is going to be right side up. So basically just like you're making the bed. So now I've got all 3 layers are actually attached. Just some things to keep in mind as you're sewing that part is continually check your layers of fabric, because you're sewing 3 layers, which includes the fitted sheet, and there's elastic on that. So that just makes it a little more tricky to keep those 3 layers smooth and not to get any folds or creases in it that you weren't planning to have. I'm gonna get out my safety pins again, and I'm going to pin along this edge here just below the zipper on both sides. And then I'm going to sew here, and then I'm going to come back, tuck this under, and sew that on the underside so that we then have a complete unit of all of the layers. We want to make sure that that flat sheet is up in the top section of the bed, because we don't want to catch it here as we sew below the zipper. If you feel like maybe the quilt is a little on the narrow side, the sheet makes up for that. That's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to pin under the zipper, and I'm going to sew here on both sides, and then I'm going to come back again and sew here the whole way around, including the bottom of the bed too. of the bedding sewn together with the fitted sheet and the quilt, and the flat sheet is kind of bunched up in the middle so it didn't get caught in those seams. And now I'm going to test it out on the bed before I figure out how to pin my very last seam. We are so close to being done. Yes, that looks good. Oh no! Oh no, how did I do that? Look what happened.
It's a bee stuck in there, I think.
You don't think it matters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
You're probably right, actually. All right, everything is sewn together here under the zipper. That all looks good. Now all I have to do is take this loose piece here and wrap it around. I guess this bedspread is a little bigger than the other ones I've done. So I actually have enough that I can just wrap it around the elastic part and sew here, and then the elastic will cinch it up like that. I like the undersides and back sides of things to look nice and tidy as well, and this should work out really nicely. Now I'm going to pin this with some more safety pins and sew it on the machine, and we will be done. We're done. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I got everything sewn together along the bottom edge here, and yeah, no complaints. Really happy with how this came together. It's going together here. Got our sheet, and then it's time to make the bed. Just fold that back. Zip it up. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. My son has been down here a couple times to check and see how the progress is going, and now all we have to do is place this back on his bed. So we're all done with the zippered bedding, and I thought I'd show you what it looks like on my son's bed. I finished this about a week ago, so he's had a chance to try it out and use it, and it's been going really well. The side zips down like this, so it's really easy for him, and the other side zips down too, but I can't reach that right now. And then when he wants to make his bed in the morning, he just straightens out the sheet. Make sure that sheet is not too close to the zipper. And then go ahead and make it like this. And then when you want to wash it, it's just as difficult as taking off a fitted sheet. So I hope that helps. If you're thinking about making something like this is more of my simplified version. And also if you are interested in adding a ruffle to help hide the zipper, I go over the details of that in the other video. Let me know in the comments if you have made one of these, and leave tips for other people who are considering it as well. So thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.